Hello, happy nuts. So what happened was we just finished our video and we ended up like randomly ranting about things. Bobby was in a flow. And I was like, yeah, this should have been in random nuts.
No, so the point we're talking about is about people and what somebody can understand. Yeah, so you can try and explain a certain thing to a person. Let's say you can try and explain awakening or spirituality, or you can try to explain first laws of motion to somebody. You can do any. You can say, okay, here is spirituality for dummies, or physics for dummies, or you can have Byju's animation explaining something or whatever. But a certain
The example of
uh,
Deadpool, the Deadpool one you
yeah,
said.
exactly. So we were also earlier seeing the latest Nobel Prize won in physics. Nobel Prize won. It is in physics and it is regarding quantum entanglement. And we saw a few videos. One video was really an animation trying to break it down into a very simple level using comic characters like Peter Quill or Deadpool and things like that, and burgers and hot dogs and things like that. Trying to use layman terms and layman objects to try to explain quantum entanglement, a complex topic which you know scientists like Einstein and Feynman have, or let's say, disagree on, or scientists around the world have really fumbled on it and couldn't really understand things. There have been several videos trying to explain that extremely complicated concept in a very indifferent manner, thinking that okay, this might make it click with a certain audience, so this might make it
Yeah.
click, and there is
Yeah.
no certain, because if a person is open to understanding, or if
Mm.
it's really boxed or really limited, okay, this is the view, this is
Mm.
my understanding, and this is the way things are, and they're really stubborn about it, or they
Kubamandugam.
are not open about, okay, I'm really open-minded here, you tell
Mm.
me I'm not, if they are not in
Mm.
that state of receiving,
Mm. Jordan.
it doesn't really matter whether you break it down into layman terms or you become really
Yeah.
theoretical, or whatever manner you try to explain, you give 100 use cases, or I don't know.
Mm. It's a horse's
The blinds, yeah. So
blinds,
you
yeah.
cannot. It's also the thing, right? You can
Kubamandugam.
draw a horse to water, but you cannot make it drink, yeah.
Drink water. Don't
Right.
mind.
So, irrespective of what you do, you cannot really influence people
Mm.
unless they are open to it as well. If they're really closed and say, you know what, I know myself, this is what I am, and this is my world, then it's extremely hard to make them understand or listen or influence them, right? And that's
Yeah.
it's a limitation of people.
Yeah.
It's the same with me as well. I mean, I'm constantly learning. If I look back me 5 years ago,
1 year ago.
1 year ago, 6 months ago, I'm a different person from then. Yeah, so I'm also constantly learning or evolving or working on myself to find that best version of myself. I'm not there yet, so I'm constantly evolving to a target which is the best version of myself, and I'm still learning. And learning
So
doesn't
am
have
I.
to be a classroom course or an online course or anything. It can be just what you perceive, or the thoughts that come in,
Beautiful. Well put.
and yeah, so these are all learnings, yeah,
Your
or
view of the
observe,
world.
or observing a certain object, or observing, like you said, you're sitting in the garden and there were butterflies and there were flies, there were bees and there were dragonflies, and they're
Beautiful.
all coexisting in the same space, same garden. And observing that might teach you something, or something happening in the street might teach you something, or might
Or in a
make,
different country.
or in a different country might make you question a certain belief that you had, or maybe put into context a certain thing that you didn't understand at that time, and I'm like, oh, now it makes sense why that happened, or why this is happening, or maybe that opens your mind, or maybe that
Mm.
makes things clear to you and things like that. So basically, the point is you can make a person sit there, and you can explain, advise. That person will never catch it unless that person's open.
Yeah.
Even if the person says, okay, I'm open, you tell me.
അതല്ല പറയണേ like yeah,
Sometimes it doesn't enter. Sometimes it doesn't enter, and it's not that
because you're
person's.
already closed or
they're already
It's like a
closed.
polarized, that filter, polarization filter.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like the slit experiment with the photons and things like that. So, if you keep it at 0 degrees, very, very theoretical,
Oh
then
my
then the
God,
wave function
Bhavachan.
will go in a vertical manner. If you keep it 90, the wave function will go in a horizontal manner, whatever. So it might be conscious that you're rejecting and you don't want to understand and you're very stubborn, or it can be unconscious as well. So sometimes we have a tendency to say this person is really stubborn or doesn't really want to understand. And that can be a conscious thing or an unconscious thing as well. And you can't blame them. You can't, I mean, it's very easy to tell,
Yeah.
but it's very hard to practice. Yeah. So,
A few years ago, like if somebody talked about spirituality with us, maybe we wouldn't have accepted.
no, exactly. It's also about timing, right? Exactly. So, yeah, a few years ago, somebody would have talked about spirituality, exactly what he said. I mean, we wouldn't have caught it. We would have said, I don't know.
Unless it happened to us, until we felt it and knew it.
Us.
Both.
Yeah. So,
And both.
yeah. So, the whole perception
Mm.
has some preconditions to be met.
Mm.
The precondition were the situations in our life or the things that we had to go through
Mm.
put us in a place where we could understand from that standpoint.
Mm.
So if we hadn't traveled in timeline to reach that place, we would have never grasped
Mm.
that.
This also connects to our previous episode of that path or that destiny or that
Yeah,
karma, dharma,
yeah.
the silver lining, that uh,
Again, now I'm getting the visual of, I think it's an Endgame, Avengers Endgame, where Hulk goes to the one and she said, "This is the timeline. You change something, then timeline goes like this. Change something, timeline goes like this." So anything that you do in your life influences the direction of your life or the direction of something else that is in your immediate surrounding and things like that. So you're all affecting things one way or the other, consciously or unconsciously.
you know how I've always felt about our life. I've felt about our life as a growing AI. Like,
Or an evolving thing, a learning.
yeah, exactly that. Like, Sneha's source code is written by
Mm,
all the thoughts and actions Sneha has done.
mm,
So that is my entire data set of my
mm,
future life.
mm,
So that's where the karma part comes, because all the data set and the average is where my future is going to go. It's not yet written. I'm writing it
mm,
through my actions, my thoughts, my intentions, my behavior, my vibrations. I'm writing it as I go. It's almost like I have to build the next step in front of me and stamp and then build on the next step. But I decide how the building or the direction should look like. It's I can write that.
So you're building the path as you walk on. So there is no paths.
Mm.
Maybe there's a general direction based on where you're born or
That's the thing. That is
societal
consciousness is actually about those millions of possibilities in the quantum world. So I don't think there is a fixed data equation. There is no fixed thing. It's a possibility of random in thingy, and what happens is determined by you. You sending out that frequency as your thought, as your action, as your behavior, as your gratitudes, as your emotions, as your body language, as your vibration, as your intention. You send out those vibrations as a message, and the universe delivers, like in the which was that Paulo Coelho book thingy, Alchemist. Thank you.
In the video that we saw earlier regarding the whole quantum entanglement, did they say that when a photon is created, at the creation, the direction is determined of the photon?
It's
And they,
either
because they were trying to change the direction of the photon, something, right? And, what was that thing?
uh, in that it was more like they wanted to test, was the direction already written or did the direction happen when the observation was made. So
Yeah.
it was something about hidden variables and non-hidden variables and
Okay.
things like that,
Okay.
and about how we can prove it and unprove it and indirectly prove that God is real. Like so That's beautiful. So I feel like there are these infinite possibilities, and you can still say, huh, Sneha's this version is going to be like this. And then you have tang, automatically picked. Then the next step is built. And then again, the next step you can think, and next step, next step. So you keep writing your own
Yeah,
thingy. Uh, and that can and would be nice if it is your highest self, if it's your highest authentic thing. Again, coming back to that topic,
and this is where that whole, so for me, this whole,
yeah,
and through our discussions as well, that the whole thing about Kanchi Velam Kekata, I mean,
yeah,
those who can hear. I don't know if that's a literal translation or the right translation.
yeah,
You can do your thing, yeah. You can do your part. Whether somebody grasps it or understands, it's not in your control. It's in theirs. Maybe they are capable of understanding. Maybe they're incapable of understanding.
yeah.
Maybe it's not the right time for them to understand as well. Maybe they'll
Beautiful.
understand
Oh my
that
God,
5 years down the
beautiful.
line. Say, hey,
Yeah,
you had told me this 5 years ago. I didn't understand it then. Now I understand. So you you just have to do your positive things or what's in your span of control, and just let universe do its own or
and
things.
they have to fulfill their soul
No, yeah,
contract.
exactly. You cannot force somebody to understand and follow. You can put your best intentions out there and hope for the best. If it works, it works. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Maybe they'll understand. Maybe it won't work. Maybe it'll work later. It doesn't matter. You do your best.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's all. That's all you need to do. You don't need to measure the success by whether you influence one person or 10%. It doesn't matter. You just have to measure yourself by the, did I put a positive thing? Did I put a good
I
thing?
love that.
Did you put a good thing?
Yeah,
Check 10 out of 10. That's it.
because this also ties me in two ways to this Bible parable about Vajanam with the. It's like, imagine this word of God. God, like I wouldn't, for in this example, let's use it as the truth about consciousness. Let's call it like that. Okay, or that meaning, the true understanding, like one level deeper into your spiritual soul self. Maybe right now I think we know it. I think we understood that. Yeah. And through our videos, throughout this channel, we are actually trying to spread that seed in this world. And this can happen in 4 ways. I don't remember exactly. I learned Bible as a child. One was in the street side, and the pigeons will eat it or something like that. So it's gone, like it's directly gone. The other was on a rocky surface, so then it couldn't take root. So basically, the rocky surface is for me, the people with who's blind or something. Or maybe you've already. Yeah. And then the other is like the seed that fell in between the thorns. So the thorns will start crushing it. Meaning maybe you already have your biased opinions thingies.
Or you're born in a situation where you cannot grow and bloom. Maybe you're caught in that. Maybe those are the societal conditions or environment is the thorn that doesn't let you grow to who you're supposed to be and bear the fruit you're supposed to bear. So then it's a wasted opportunity, yes. But
then you're in the
it's
wrong
meant
place.
Yeah.
You don't belong in between the thorns.
It's all meant to happen, yeah. And the fourth one is?
And the fourth one is the one that fell on the proper soil.
Yeah.
And then it started taking root, it started growing, and it started bearing fruit. So I think it's also talking about this possibility of random possibilities of what can happen. The same information. But to different people, the effect is different. So it's also about, if you have ears, please hear. There is consciousness. It's like saying, in that Avatar first movie, when Grace dies, she says Ava is real. It's almost like that. Like once you experience Ava, it is real. So if you can hear it, do your own research, start feeling your own feelings, thoughts, emotions, experiments.
Whatever we share as well, we're just putting our best forward, and we just let it
As
flow.
raw as possible.
As raw as possible, let it flow. I mean, if it clicks, it clicks. If it doesn't click, it doesn't click. It's okay. There's no right or wrong or good or bad. This is what we are doing from our standpoint. What we think is good, and we're just putting good positive thoughts and energies out there. And for some, it will be like, okay, I don't understand. That's fine. And for some, like, I perfectly makes sense. I totally resonate. That's also fine. And for some, like, okay, maybe neutral about it. That's also fine. So whatever state you are in, it's okay. There's no right or wrong.
But if you like it, subscribe.
And also share your thoughts and comments.
Yes.
So we also understand what you're thinking as well, because that's also quite important, and to engage in discussions or talks will also be quite interesting as well. So feel free to express. There's no judgments here, and there's no right or wrong.
We want to practice what we preach.
Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah, exactly. And it's a community, right? So share your views. It's fine. And as usual, stay love and above.
Stay love and above.
All right. Take care.